Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Hartley. This podcast exists to equip and inspire your heart-centered leadership. Every week, we bring interviews with some of the greatest heart sets and mindsets on the planet. I hope the heartprint of our time spent together is that it creates new possibilities for you and all those you come into contact with. If you'd like to explore what we could make possible for you, then head to abty.co.uk/connect and book in a free 30-minute call to begin our journey together. I just want to express a huge amount of gratitude to our sponsors, Exhale Coffee. I have been a big fan of Exhale Coffee since meeting Alex and the team back in 2022. Exhale is the first coffee to be sourced, roasted and lab tested specifically to maximize its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory potency. An independent lab test has shown that 1 cup of Exhale Coffee has the same antioxidant power as 1.8 kilos of blueberries or 55 oranges. I'm a huge fan, and Mrs. H loves the decaf, especially because she knows that Exhale use the mountain water decaffeination process, which uses only pure glacial water from the highest mountain in Mexico and no nasty chemicals. Simply head to exhalecoffee.com/ABTY for your special offer. And lastly, before I introduce this week's guest, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would really help us leave a greater heartprint on this world. On episode 307, what a joy it is to welcome Pam Buchanan to the podcast. Pam is the founder of Quantum Sense, a consulting agency for the new paradigm, and is a pioneer in soul health innovations. With 40 years of self-optimization experience and a dynamic career spanning Silicon Valley, Deutsche Bank, and 15 years as the managing director at Nasdaq, Pam has sat in boardrooms with visionaries like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Pam's career has been at the forefront of innovations in the corporate mindset. Pam is now leading the next evolution with Soul Health. Soul Health is a new paradigm of well-being that goes beyond the physical and mental. Now with her consulting agency Quantum Sense, Pam's bringing sensory-based solutions to empower individuals and organizations to thrive in today's world. What that means is this conversation you're about to listen to is going to equip you as heart-centered leaders for this new paradigm to thrive with soul health. We're here for it. Hope you enjoy this conversation. It's episode 307 with Pam Buchanan. Pam, welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you? Glad to be here.
Very good. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. You and I sound very like-hearted. I am looking forward to sharing your heart and your mind with our community. So very welcome.
Thank you.
With my website at the very start, sometimes to set the context of heart-centered leadership, sometimes the best way of doing that is to preface the opposite, like invoke the law of contrast and, hey, here's the opposite. Here's kind of,
Yes.
and that's kind of how I did it with when I was leaving policing. I have a background in policing, and I often used to set the context of heart-centered leadership in the absence of what I was seeing. And then I come across the words on your website, which is just 2 words. Is exactly what I was trying to get at, which was just a new paradigm. It's like flipping the script, new paradigm. So you represent a new paradigm. Maybe we can start there. What is the new paradigm?
Yes, I'm very excited for what's to come, despite all the chaos we're currently living in. But I really do think it's a turning point for the world, and that we're going from our fear survival mode to a love-based, a thrive mode. And literally, we all will be living out of our soul-based, love-based, heart-based beings versus that fear of, is there enough? You know, is this person against me or for me? But truly living at the soul's core on a more consistent basis. Obviously, it's going to take some time to get there, but we are literally, as we speak, entering a new paradigm of the way the world is going to work.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure everyone can resonate with, you know, because often people think of the word soul and spiritual, and the world hasn't really integrated soul and spirituality with work. uh,
No, they have not.
in a mainstream conversation. But I'm sure we're all familiar with the phrase of like, oh, it's destroying my soul. You know, like this
Yes.
work is destroying my soul, this environment. So I think we intuitively know the pain that we experience. And I'd love to use this time an opportunity to create a inspiration towards the possibility, and not even the
Mhm.
possibility, the probability of
Yes,
what
probability.
things can be
Hmm.
like. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it starts with the day to day, right? It's not going off to your yoga retreat or your spa retreat or taking a vacation to a beautiful island. I talk about you've got to create that in your day to day.
Mm,
And, whether that is at home, at work, throughout your, day to day activities, create joy and happiness. And there's always little tidbits wherever you go, despite someone may be rude or there's traffic. And again, we're human beings, right? We're on this earth as humans, physical beings. So, we
mm,
fluctuate between right now the fear and the love base, because there's really two emotions. You either live out of your fear base or you live out of your love base. So it's that simple, right? Like, so if you can get your mind to say, okay, was that an interaction that was based in anger, jealousy, or was that an interaction based in, positivity and beauty and understanding? So literally asking yourself those questions as you go throughout your interactions during the day. And that's whether you're a leader, an employee, a husband, a friend, really hold yourself accountable for how you show up. And then others around you will gravitate towards that. And it's uncomfortable at first because, again, we were all, right now, all of us have been born into a survival, fear based environment, society. And maybe, thousands of years ago, when they were out competing for the one bear that was out in the wilderness to eat and to provide for your family, there had to be that competitiveness and that fear that I'm not going to provide enough food for us to survive. But we're way past that now. I think we would all agree we're way, way past that. So why are we still living like, oh my God, there's not enough for all of us, or he's or she's a competitor and not my ally? Because at the
mm.
core of it, we're all the same beings with a love-based soul.
Yeah.
And so I do want, my mission is to get soul being talked about as part of you, not as
Mm,
a part of religion.
yeah.
Because, we're, as they say, it's mind, body, and soul, right? So the workplace in particular, starting in, let's say, the 90s, the early 2000s, they started working with mental health days, or appreciating that, yes, people have sadness and need, therapists. So now insurance companies cover that type of resources
Mm,
for the employees. And let's say you need a mental health day. That's normal in our culture, right?
mm,
Our bodies, let's say that you had a heart problem. You had to go to the doctor. Everybody would visualize, okay, he has a heart problem. I can visualize that. I've known many people that have had heart problems. They go to the doctor, they get it fixed. Do you leave your heart with the doctor? No, but he's
yeah.
the expert, quote unquote, to fix it. But
Yeah.
it's part of you, and we all see that. So why do we give our soul off to
Mm,
an institution, a religious institution,
hmm.
that once a week we check in with? No, let's take that soul back to our being and let's normalize talking about that as part of our human experience. And I think that really is the part that is missing. And again, my goal is to, let's just start talking about it instead of, as you said, we talk about soul draining or it hurts my soul.
Mm,
Well, what is your soul? Let's
mm,
define it. It's a part of you. And I know that even though human bodies vary in size, shape, the soul is consistent in all of us in terms of the love vibration that it
mm.
brings to to earth, and we should all be, experiencing that and talking about it as freely as we do. Oh, you worked out today? How those biceps? I mean, right? You could talk to a stranger about that. Talk to your boss, your spouse, but how about your soul? How's your soul doing today? What did you do to feed your soul? Just like you feed your body nutritious foods, what are you feeding your soul? And I say that it's beauty that surrounds us. And then obviously taking yourself out of a situation that causes harm to that soul, right? So let's say that you're in a relationship that has friction and that person isn't self-evolved or is more fear-based. You need to remove yourself from that situation, because what we also know scientifically is that the negative and the fear base, that molecule is heavier than the love base. That's why it takes a while and more of us to get elevated to pull those negativities out of society.
Pam, how's your soul today?
Thank you for asking. I'm feeling really good because we're interacting at a love-based, mutual, topic, right? And I can see the essence of your soul, with your smile and your exuberance in this subject. So it's wonderful when you're interacting with people that share similar thoughts and want to do better for the world. And I think there needs to be more of us that are out there talking about this and elevating all of us to this point. But we literally are entering a new paradigm. Yeah. It is a new paradigm, and we've got to start talking about how we are going to create the future.
Beautiful. I'm here for it. I have a men's group, and I playfully introduce the idea of spirituality to those that have no concept of it by saying, hey, look, if you go fishing and you come home and you're more present, patient, loving for your spouse and for your children, that, my friend, is a spiritual activity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because the fruit of your behavior has become more loving.
Yes. And I think the more loving situations and positive situations we can put ourselves in, then your whole being is going to resonate, and it's going to attract that type of environment, whether that includes people, whether that is just a beautiful park, walking down and looking out into the ocean. Try to incorporate more of those fishing trips into your routine. It really is as simple as that, but then as difficult as that, because we have to break some of our old habits, right?
Yeah. Has it always been like this for you in your career? Or is it, because so many people I talk to, they have this almost evolution and expansion because they have experienced such pain, and then they have a breakthrough, and the thing that they needed to learn becomes the thing they teach. Have you always had this sense of soul wasp in your corporate America world?
Yeah, I really have. And not saying that it wasn't difficult or I didn't meet difficult people, right? But I think for me to keep going, because I could see the essence of the souls that I was working with. And I have to say, I worked with 2 different companies and evolved in different roles. But I met and interacted with beautiful people. And again, was there competition or jealousy or individuals that were struggling? Absolutely. And did that cause me pain, I guess, in the moment, and angst and anger at points in time? Absolutely. But I think I had this vision that we're all love-based, soul-based creatures and humans, and would see the good. And maybe whether that's my Midwest background, whether that's my family background, I do say that I'm an identical twin. So I was born into this world with someone that physically looks like me, right? And if you get down to it, we're cellularly the same beings and DNA and all of that. And so you're compared every day, let's say, when you're younger, even as you go through your adult life, people are fascinated by that. And oh, in what ways are you similar, or you must think alike or
Mm.
act alike. And really I always said, no, we're different. We're different. And I never paid attention to, oh, I guess if you were talking with her, you'd be like, oh wow, you look exactly like Pam. Her name is Kim. So a lot of times people will call me Kim, Pam. My mom thought she was giving us non-identical names, but it ends up being identical. But I knew at the core we're different at our souls.
Mm.
And so that is how I started really on that trajectory of getting in touch with my soul. And throughout my career, I would be very direct or have a knowing of certain things. And people would say, wow, where's that coming from? And I'm like, I didn't have a word for it, right? So
Mm.
now I've evolved into I can name it. It's my soul's essence that has a knowing and connecting with your soul's essence. So
Yeah.
can we see beyond the physical? That's my word for the year, beyond. Can we see beyond the physical and even the mental, right? Don't have your brain overthink, overanalyze, question. Just let's get right into it. Let's just jump into that deep end, right? Let's go deep
Yeah.
and see what's down there.
What's the gateway? What posture do I need to create within my body, my mind? How do I access that gateway?
I say it's through the senses.
Mm.
So that's why my company's name is Quantum Sense.
Yeah.
It's at a different level, but it is starting with your senses because, again, that's something all of us are born with, right? Our sensory abilities, and yet they're different. So, what you sense as, uplifting, my senses may recoil at that, given whether it is past experiences or just the way the sensory system is working with your nervous system.
Mm.
So I say let's start with our senses. So let's ground ourselves, and that's part of the program is grounding, because you have to ground before you elevate, and that's the part that people miss.
Yeah.
So let's ground and ask ourselves these questions, and maybe let's say that you can just stay there, you get it, and then start living that way in a week. Some people may take a year or two to decondition themselves from what
Mm.
we've been taught or society has taught us how to live. But let's really get back to our senses. And are we surrounded by beauty? Do you like the color of the walls that are
Mm.
surrounding you in your environment? Do you find it like offensive when you walk into your home? Like, oh, that's dark. Why am I living with a dark beige, let's call it, or a brown? That's that is vibrationally bringing you to a lower level. So then you know how you paint a room, like let's say your child's room, and it's a little girl, and you create this beautiful pink shade. You're like, oh, every time you walk in, why can't your whole home be that? Oh, I feel better in this environment, and start there and then fill in with the items that you want to have in your home that feel good to you, right? Whether it's the textures, the touch, the smells. I have candles lit throughout my home because the smell when I walk in, it uplifts me. So it immediately gets you out of that space of, let's say you just got home from honking at cars and traffic, right? And you're like, oh, you want to walk into your home and be uplifted, kind of that all washes
Mhm.
away. And it's as simple. It doesn't have to be a whole redo of your home, right? You don't have
Mhm.
to get out the hammers and the nails and start tearing down walls. Let's just start simply with the pink color, and then add some music and some scent and maybe some texture, right? And the food that nourishes you.
Yeah, I find that this is one of those things that compounds over time because what you're building is the habit of awareness. You're building a
Yes.
habit and a practice of noticing what is
Yes.
already there. I think much of what I talk about heart-centered leadership is coming to the sense of wholeness. And I think this is maybe we can talk about some of the qualities of the soul, but coming to the world full, lacking nothing, having all that I need, that sense of I have all that I need, therefore I can be abundant, overflow, and give. And so
Yes.
much of that is only possible when we can actually look and see what's there now. Like we can be
Yes.
look there and gratitude and joy and these higher frequency states. Um, that
Absolutely. And it's
that's a
as
journey
simple
that
as,
compounds.
let's say you had a hard day. Let's say that you encountered some lower vibrating entities out
Mm.
there, whether that's traffic or, dirt or,
Yeah.
individuals, even crawling into bed, right? With comforter and, softness and, maybe a candle lit, and you can say, all is good. I am safe. At that moment, you are. So again, it's moment by moment, right? Don't look at it as all, oh my God, my whole day has to be perfect. And again, eventually, as you said, building that out, all of a sudden you'll realize, wow, look at all the beauty I've created in my life. They say, oh, get rid of the clothes you don't wear, and put colors on that inspire you and all. And then we can all look in our closet and realize, well, that doesn't make me feel good because it doesn't fit right, or the button's gone, or I had a spill on it. That means remove that from your
Mm.
environment, right? Don't hold on to it because, oh, I paid a lot of money for it.
Mm.
I'll wear it someday. I'll mend it so it doesn't have a tear in it. Just remove it. Change how you look at things. Like, I think we all look at things like, oh, look at how much that costs. I can't get it out of my life. Yeah, you can, because what's the cost to your soul and
Mm.
your elevated being is much more than the dollar amount that it was. And let's say you made a mistake. Let's say you bought something that was expensive and it is not working in your life. Donate, resell, but move it on. And you're the only person that can really know when it's time to move things along and bring something new into your
Mm.
life. And that's, again, it's getting to that inner core, not what everyone else likes, right? Oh, this is in fashion. Let's
Yeah.
call it a purple color.
Yeah.
Well, purple reminds me of the Easter dress that mom used to dress me in, and I
Mhm.
hated because, it was too frilly or whatever. I don't like purple, but oh, it's a fashion statement. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's okay. You don't have to wear purple, despite what the fashion industry is telling you to
Yeah,
wear.
yeah.
I mean, I hate to oversimplify, but it's almost that simple,
Yeah.
right? Like, pause for a minute. Okay, purple does not resonate with me. Now, your best friend over here may be going, "Oh my God, I love purple. It's the best color, and it's the season." Great, because that elevates her being. It doesn't elevate your being, and that's okay. It's okay to state what really resonates with you.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe one of the sickness of the cultures is we're so used to looking outside of ourselves. We have a
Absolutely.
culture that says look like this, be like this. We have happy meals, energy drinks,
Yes.
all these things that even are just packaged to say, hey, the thing that you're looking for is outside of you. So we're so used to having whatever it is on a pedestal. We all worship something, whether that's a religion or an ideal.
Yes.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's just conditioned us away from this sense of being able to go, oh, well, if I don't like that, then maybe I'm Johan Hari's book, Lost Connections. If I don't know if you've ever read it. It's one of the best books I've ever read. It's all about the signs and symptoms of depression beyond the
Okay.
chemical imbalance. And
Hmm.
um, one of the chapters is all about we live in a culture with shitty values. And he interviewed a marketing director, and
Hmm.
he says my marketing is at its best when people are left to feel inadequate without the product. I thought, wow, like if that's the marketing techniques with these massive, these massive corporations are going for, no wonder people feel inadequate all their days.
Oh, absolutely. And in my early sales days, you got to create a pain point, make them feel the pain.
Yeah.
And I would be like, really? We have to create a pain point? Yeah. And then you're running in to solve the problem. Again, looking outside. you know. Now,
Yep.
the funny thing is, I do talk about outside in because I want us to get to know our senses, right?
Mhm.
Like lift your head up and out. Instead of us being on our phones and the internet and the news, lift your head up and look around you. Now, that's not saying take in what their opinions are, but take in what resonates with you, right? Like, what environment are you sitting in right now? And is that an environment you want to continue to sit in and help you thrive? Or are you in survival mode and really don't want to be sitting in this environment? So
Yeah.
what it does start with your environment and how you're sensing, and your senses will tell you good or bad. Like, is it creating anxiety? Is it creating depression? Are there little things that I can change? Let's say it is a job that isn't uplifting you. You don't have to leave tomorrow, but
Yeah.
put a plan into place to create a better environment for you to thrive. And how does that look? How does that look in, you're thriving and exuberant and joyful? And, does that include going through the McDonald's drive-through?
Mm. A friend of ours, a friend of the show, Dr. Bruce Lipton, he says in his books that
Yes.
nature has a way of letting you know you're in the right place with the right people doing the right things, and that feedback mechanism is your energy.
Yes. Yes, it is. But what gets you to that feedback is your senses
Yeah.
through your nervous system. So that's why I talk about the senses before I talk about the energy, right? But
Mm.
what is it that you're sensing? Is it the smell in the environment? Is it because, it's not the totality of the environment. It has to be
Mm.
one or two little things. What if I remove this? What if I added that? What does that do to my energy?
Mm.
Again, just like putting an outfit together, you know how you can, okay, this top really looks good and fits well. I'm going to pair it with this pair of pants. And you're like, that doesn't look good with these pants. But you don't need to change the whole outfit. You
Yes.
just need to change. Let me grab another pair of pants.
Yeah.
And it could be both of them are a pair of jeans. I remember my goddaughter, she was a teenager and she had met a boy in high school and she needed to look really cute on this particular day.
I am
So
not looking forward to this phase of my life.
yeah, wait till this happens. And so she goes, I have two outfits picked out. I'm like, okay, honey, let me take a look at them. And so literally, I mean, to me, they were the same, right? They were, let's call it a white t-shirt and a jean skirt and another white t-shirt and a jean skirt. Now there a few little twigs here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, whichever one you feel more comfortable in. And only she could tell
Mm.
herself that, right? Like, yes, they're very similar, but maybe one had pockets and one didn't. Maybe the material in the t-shirt was different. But I realized at that time, it's like, okay, here she is thinking these are so different, but to the outside eye, right?
Mm.
They were similar. But to her, it was her sensory being, they were different, right? And it was really important that she
Mm.
felt really good that day, right?
It's such a powerful thing, isn't it? That question, and sometimes it's questions, isn't it, to invoke that reflection and self-awareness. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not used to me having that level of introspection, and we learn to try it on, and and that is a life-giving practice, even just to start applying, because that will filter into other areas of life, whether it work, friendship groups.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy. I don't know if you've ever seen Disney's Soul, the film Disney Soul. Um,
Yeah, I have not seen it. I've wanted to watch it. I'm not a big TV watcher anymore, so I kind of stay away, but
yeah,
that's on my list.
it's very good because it gives you the visual of 22 is this soul. The idea is it comes into a body, and the
Mm-hmm.
soul requires the body to experience itself through the senses. It's like there's this scene where like 22 is just in this body and go mental for chocolate and pizza, like, because as a soul, as a pure soul, as an individuation of soul, it doesn't have the body to experience things. So that was a really powerful. It's just simple, right? Disney film,
Yes.
gave me the understanding what you're talking about, that without this body, the soul doesn't get to experience these things.
Exactly. And what I say too, I mean, like you're just saying, the soul, we've always put over here that's elevated and off into the, wherever it is, right? Up somewhere where we can't touch or feel it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it is a part of your being. And we're humans on this earth to experience, pure joy and love and happiness. And yes, our ancestors may have carried with them a survival, if you will, to help build the structures. But that's what the new paradigm is that we're tearing down every man-made structure. So our education system, our business system, our political system, the religious system, all is breaking down around us. And so that's why you feel the chaos. Because anytime you make changes, it does kind of, wait a minute, are they tearing the whole thing down? Oh, I like parts of it. Nope, the whole thing needs to be torn down. And like I also like to say is, like, let's say you buy a house. Do you need just a little gut job, a rehab job, or do you need to tear down the whole house? That's what we're entering into in this new paradigm. And in a lot of places, we need to tear the whole damn building down. It needs to come down. And it's not going to be overnight, right? It's not going to be overnight, but let's build those structures up, those institutions, with love versus the fear and survival. Let's make them so they're healthy, so that we incorporate nature. And that's what you're seeing with the neuroaesthetics, right? It's it may be a buzzword, but let's talk about the neuroaesthetics of what surrounds us. And that's really what the senses are, right? We're talking about the nervous system, the aesthetics, whether that's sound, sight, taste. What is it that your environment incorporates? And let's make that uplifting and be conscious and with great intent do that. And it may take a little bit longer to incorporate some of these items into the new structures. And sometimes we can just do a little tweak here and there, but in most cases, I'm finding we're going to have to break down the building.
I was wondering if you were going to say that.
That's what I'm seeing. Breakdown of some structures. And it's that does create, again, that creates anxiety, right? But that's where you have to go back into your soul and saying, okay, I'm here and I get to watch and witness a whole new paradigm come to earth. Your children are going to experience this love-based new earth, new paradigm world. And won't that be wonderful? Because by the time, I say, let's call it 2060, we'll be fully thriving in that new paradigm. But we'll start to see it here and there, right? But let's keep building. Let's not let the negative pull us back. And that's where grounding is so important. And if I don't have children, but if I were, I would teach them just the importance of being grounded into their being and really knowing who they are. And yes, it's important to take in your environment, to interact with people, how people are, the interactions are so important. So do it out of love, but you can be who you want to be. But no one really teaches us who we are. My generation was, sent to school. You go from grade 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You sit in a class in a row. Everything is structured, regardless of how your brain is structured and working and what gifts you have to give. That's just not the way the world works anymore. We're embracing creativity and the differences in how our brains operate. So let's get to know ourselves deeper than, oh, look at my biceps.
Yeah.
And deeper than even your organ health. I call it organ health, right? My organ health is great. I don't have to worry about that. So don't send me to the doctor every year. I got great organ health. I got that covered. My nervous system is affected by the environment I'm in. So that could or could not be covered. So I've got to pay attention to that. How can I do that? Through my senses. Because let's say I'm not feeling great, but yet if I did blood work, it'd be like, oh, you're great. I mean, doctors have consistently told me, oh, got the best blood work I've ever seen. I'm like, well, that's good. If I get a medal.
Full of oxytocin.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's why, part of me is like, I don't have to worry about that part of me. Maybe another person came in to, struggle with maybe some organ health, but science has evolved to where, like, my dad, he's 92. He wouldn't be living if it weren't for heart surgery and diabetic medicines, right? That's important. But we're kind of past that stage now. Now we're working with the mind and the nervous system and how that interacts with us. And then let's get to the soul level and really thrive.
Yeah, well, you talk about nervous system, and I don't really think about this young when I'm in my 20s. I'm now hitting my late 30s, and my wife and I have so much awareness around who we are and how we resonate and what. And so we're from the West Country. We live in the kind of countryside. If we go to the city, if we go to London, like, it overwhelming, sensorily, stress, busy, like, there's lack of connection, like. There's a number of things that stress her out and stress me out for different reasons.
Yes.
And and if I put those two and two together and look at the topic you're talking about, like, millions and millions of people work and live in cities every single day, yet might not even have the awareness to connect the dots that their environment can affect their nervous system.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, think about, they call it noise pollution, right?
Yeah.
The noise pollution has definitely increased, right? With the honking of the horns and the roads and just the number of cars, let's just call it, on the road, or construction that's taking place. If you're in that environment day in and day out, it does wear on you. It's almost like, think of it like eating greasy food for a year. What would that do to your organs, right? It would not be healthy. What does the noise do to your nervous system? That's why, again, let's start with the senses. What am I putting in my environment? What noise is in my environment? And let's say that I live in the city and I can tolerate it, or have put, certain, structure in my life where I don't have to hear the noise pollution, let's say, and I've created a safe place for me to come home to. And maybe I get energized by the city. Like, whenever I would go to New York, I kind of got that energy. Now, could I live there day to day? Not sure. But again, knowing who you are and how you interact with that is so important. Because then, let's say your nervous system is upset, then you get cranky. And then you go into the fear-based mode of anger and, like, you're lashing out at the people you love. So again, I do focus a lot on creating that environment that really supports your being. And let's say that you meet someone, they're a city person, you're a country person. It may not work, right? For both of you to thrive at that level. Or maybe you live half time in the city, half time in the country. But isn't that critical? I mean, that's really a critical point that probably most people may not talk about when they get together. So it is important, I think, to start having those types of discussion. The work from home or work in the office, there's upsides and downsides to both. If you had to commute into the city every day, that would be hurtful to your nervous system. So what would you have to counteract that with, right? Or how could you change that? By looking for a new job. But in the meantime, how could you support your being? Again, I think it's great that we're all being more neurosensitive, right? To whether it is the autisms and the different neurological ways that we're all built and coming into the world.
I used to when I was just come straight out of university, my first role was an emergency call handler. So in the 999 police dispatch center,
Oh my
I
goodness.
was
Yeah.
doing shift work. There was stress, adrenaline, pressure, and 3 or 4 different radio channels. And I'd come home and I'd stay up later than I needed to just to wind down. Like, if I
Yep.
think about my time back then, I was not soul healthy. I was
Yep.
not. And I guess or not how do you work with leadership teams, organizations to look at the health, soul health of their people?
Again, I like talking to, smaller groups of people.
Mm,
And, when I lay it out that, I do talk about your body and then the mental mind, not your nervous system, but the mental mind. And then that leads us to the soul. So I start with, the soul is a part of you. So let's get used to that language and being a part of you. And then I say, how do we nourish our soul? And let's go through and, again, the room answer, this is what nourishes me today. This is what maybe could be. And put it on the board where, here's some nourishment, here's some depletion, if you will, right? Like you're in a high stress situation in that environment. So maybe your nourishment has to be more than just, a day off work. Maybe it's 2 days on, 3 days off. The police work, and you said, you come from that background as well. I mean, the stress of that and seeing the events that take place in this world that aren't pleasant, right? That has to, because you're a human being, take its toll. And so how are we supporting those people on the front lines? And I think that is the missing piece in probably our police and firefighters, and we don't give enough attention to their soul health, if you will, not their mental
yeah.
health, but their soul health. Why aren't we talking about that? What is it doing? You're doing a great job. You're called to serve in that way, but are you balancing it out so that you can serve at your highest level? And
Well, the
so,
core.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think people take enough time out to refuel.
Yeah. When you work with these organizations, is it very much at an individual action plan level, or are there cultural, systemic practices that the organization implement?
Yeah, right now it's a more individual level. I will say I'm, still a little surprised how when I say soul health, and I don't want to change that language, that they really steer away from it because they equate it with we're overstepping to the religious, um, aspect of the
Yep.
person. And as hard as I may try to say it's not about the religious aspect of a person, society has made it the dominant viewpoint. And so it's harder to turn the ship around, if you will, right? And the bigger the organization is. So I've struggled with that. I'd like to do more cultural things, but it does penetrate into the culture when I'm working with individuals within that team environment. So it hasn't infiltrated as fast as I thought it would, as
Yeah,
far as soul.
it's funny, isn't it? I've often not had the wisdom to articulate my work as well because I kind of a bit of rebellious. So I've come at it from a playful perspective. But what I realized along the way, for someone to embrace heart-centered leadership, a lot of people had to recognize that they didn't embrace heart-centered leadership to get to their rank and positions. There's a cognitive dissonance that comes and says, well, that's not possible. It wasn't possible for me. I had to compete and fight and get my job. No one looked after my soul health, but as
Yeah.
I've got to the top of the pile, why should I? you know, so I'm learning ever ways to be what generally going in with the Trojan horse, speaking in the language of the decision makers, to then bring in the heart and the soul behind.
Yes, yeah. And I'm not as good at that because I
Nor
just
am
have
I.
always been direct.
Yeah.
And I want or organizations that have been open to the new discussion, but I'm, and maybe I'm
Yes.
a little stubborn. I should massage it a little bit more. But that's why I try to talk about the environment, right?
Yeah.
Like in the senses, which is hopefully a neutral conversation, right? And then maybe people dismiss the senses to a certain extent because it's on automatic, right? Like your senses really, that's how a child gets to know the world, is through the senses. So we're creating a new paradigm. We have to go back to the senses. And so are you open, this is what I say, to engaging in that conversation where it is almost like learning a new skill set? And for the new paradigm, we all will need a new skill set.
Yeah.
All of us.
Which is why we need the leaders for now to usher in, I think if this is a new paradigm that the masses, we're going to need the people that resonate with this stuff at a heart and soul level, the people that are really like, yes, where have you been all my life?
Yes.
That now's the time to really make contact with organizations like Pam's, because this is about equipping and empowering people to step up and to lead others through that. Yeah, if people have ears for it now, there's a reason you have ears for it now, and that's to help get prepared for what's coming. And
Yes,
so if you
absolutely.
are hearing this call and you're hearing it loud and clear, then now is the time. You are already prepared. You already have all that you need, and that pull on your heart is calling you now.
Yeah. And that's it. It's already there, right? It's already there. And it's just pulling that out and leading with that, right? Like I say, are you leading with your ego? Are you
Yes.
leading with your soul? Again, a simple question to ask yourself every day, every hour, right? Was that a soul-led meeting or was that ego? Was there more ego from me? Was there more ego from the team? How was that interaction? Did we get what we needed accomplished? And then if the answer is ego-led, then how can we slowly start to change that or quickly start to change that? Right? That's, I'm very adaptable and I like change, and that's, again, is that part of my being? Is that part of my, how I grew up with this huge amount of curiosity, right? But I'm finding more and more people don't have that, right? Like they really resist change. And then the more chaotic the world's gotten, you would think they would open up a little bit more, but it seems like they've shut down a little bit more. Like, I'm just going to go back to what I was used to. But that's not going to work.
Yeah.
It really is not going to work. And so, again, thank you for, giving a shout out to work with organizations such as mine and yours, because you're going to need those skills. You really are going to need, and it's leading with curiosity, right? Leading with an open mind, and don't be afraid of the future, because it is coming, whether you want it to or not. We're not back in the horse and buggy day, right? Like I'm sure when, the car came out, people are like, oh, we can't drive a car. What, that's going to ruin our whole society. So if you think about it, there's always been change and there's always been evolution. And now we're embarking on a huge revolution, huge, at massive scale. And just ask yourself the question, how do you want to be a part of that? How do you want to be a part of that? And it could be, I just want to raise healthy children and children with the skill set to lead in the future. It could be, I want to lead a corporation, or I want to be a part of a team. I want to be a part of a product that will, accelerate us into the future. How do you want to be a part of that? And I worked in Silicon Valley at Nasdaq. I took companies public. So I like to say that I live the future. I live the future. And, some of these ideas I didn't understand, but the brains and how they worked and what they saw, you have to be willing to take that leap of faith, that risk. And, if it fails, at least you tried. Don't be afraid of failure. That's really the, entrepreneur mindset, right? Don't be afraid of failure. Get comfortable with it. And what is failure? It's just a learning experience. So try something new today.
How do I learn to discern between ego and soul?
That's a very good question. I when it's if you the simplest part is it coming, the ego is coming from a pain point in your body? Are you lashing out? Or was it a trigger that's a word that was said that made you tense up? So again, feel it in your body, right? Like the tension, because leading from the soul, there is no tension. It's a relaxed feeling, right? So if you're interacting, and let's say that one person you're interacting with, they could be leading from ego, and then that catches you into the ego circle. Because again, don't put blame on ourselves, because we were born into this structure, right? And it's not saying that structure wasn't supportive, just like you're saying, like the person worked their way up and had to fight and claw and kick and, be competitive and, kick that guy out of the way and, jump over that woman, that's okay. That was what was then, and that's why, I'm a baby boomer, and a lot of the millennials I work with say, oh, you have the mindset of a millennial. I'm like, well, thank you. Like I'm open. I'm willing to let go of what I grew up and what the structure was. So are you willing to look for something new that will enhance those around you as well as yourself? But ego, it's tension in your body primarily. And when you get angry, and so it's the negative parts, like you walk away and think, I should have said that to that guy, but it really got me, or if it's at a group level, am I focused on lower, I want to say lower vibrating, but that's, again, you can't use that word a lot, but am I lowering the energy or the focus and the purpose of the company by focusing on, I don't want to say superficial, but non-relevant items?
Yeah, I found Hawkins' map of consciousness a very useful tool. Whether it's accurate or not, it kind of sets in a hierarchy the emotional states, fear, guilt, shame, anger, all the way up to love.
Yes. Yes.
And I find that as even just as a framework reference, because you talked earlier about the heaviness of the molecule, right? So that you've almost got the material lower than love, the spiritual higher. And I even just find that as a tool to reflect on where might I be right now. Is just a non-judgment, observation, learning to get curious. I think these are some of the great tools to look up on this.
Yeah. Well, I say too, rise above your body and be an observer. So let's say you're in a situation and you can feel your body tensing up. Rise above it, observe the situation, non-judgment. See that person, let's say they're in pain, they're coming from negativity, ego. Do you have to react that way? Can you walk away? How do you want to engage? Because we easily get pulled into that negativity, again, because the molecule is heavier. That's what we've been trained to do. And so how can you, again, be the observer of your own behavior? And maybe it is, I don't know, you're not feeling good in the outfit you wore, your haircut didn't turn out the way you wanted to, you're not feeling, your best self. So again, what are the little things that can put you in the best self 90% of the time versus 10% of the time?
Yeah.
Work your way up. If you're in a really negative situation and it's only 10% of the time, go 15, go 20. You don't have to do it all, the next day or even the next year. But if you're working towards it, because each of us have that, I don't want to call it baggage, but I'll call it baggage, right? Like we carry with us what was given to us, and whether it's generational transfers of our family culture, the town we grew up in, whatever it is, we know what we need to, the mindsets that we need to get rid of, right? So you can articulate those, and then you can leave them at the door. That was the viewpoint of my parents. That's not my viewpoint, or that's not the way the world does work. But I say, let's get excited about the future and the new paradigm. Let's get motivated by what is to come. And yes, we have chaos right now. Things are breaking down. Again, put yourself, if you can just put yourself in, the rehab of a house. Yes, it's messy, but you have that vision of what it will be, right? So right now it's messy, but you be the bright light in that mess if you want, if you're in a business that is part of the chaos that's breaking down. Let's be the bright light.
I have a word here I always put in yesterday. It's called Heartprint, and the word really symbolizes almost the quantum ripple effect that we want to have on
I love that.
Other people. So it's
Yes.
The word really came from my time in policing, right? So we used to teach our detectives the Locard's exchange principle, which is this idea that every contact leaves a trace. So we would teach detectives that principle so that the detective would think about looking at where the offender may have left of themselves at the scene. But I thought we need to teach our leaders this concept because every contact leaves a trace.
Every contact leaves a trace. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, how is that affecting you, right? Like, how is that affecting you? Yeah. And be real with it. I mean, and again, anger and sadness, they're all part of life. So don't shut that down, but don't lead with that. I think we're talking about the same thing. How are you leading? Again, you still get to be human in this 100%. World. And we're, yeah. You
can't escape that fact. Am I helping with my humanity, or am I harming with my humanity is a different question.
Yes, absolutely. And what am I contributing? And do I want to be, I think we all want to be a part of something new and exciting.
So Pam, my question really is coming to the end of your days, maybe 2060, you get an opportunity to reflect. What do you hope that your heartprint will be?
That I was kind and generous in my kindness to every being that I encountered. Yeah, every being that I encountered. So that is my what I hope to leave, whether it's your family, friends, the service providers you interact with, but literally how you go about your day to day. It's not about the big moments. It's about the small moments.
That's where the divine dwells.
That's right. It is. It's where the divine dwells. Yes, absolutely.
How can people get in contact with you, Pam?
They can go to my website, which is thequantumsense.com, and shoot me an email, or you want to learn more about what I talk about. I'm on LinkedIn, Pam Buchanan, and look forward to talking and having uplifting conversations about what the new paradigm looks for you.
Love it. I'll make sure your links are in the show notes. Pam, thank you so much for taking time out today. I'd love it if you'd leave us a final thought from your good self.
Let's quantum. Let's get into the quantum. Let's get into the new paradigm and thrive.
Pam, I appreciate you.
Thanks. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Hey my friends, thank you for making it to the end. I hope that our time spent together today has left you a little bit better than before you push play. I'd really appreciate if you just took a moment to leave a review to allow me to meet more people where they are and hopefully leave them a little bit better too. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organization, then head to alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com to connect. And while you're there, let me know 1 or 2 things that you're going to do as a result of listening to this conversation. I absolutely love hearing your thoughts, your reflections, and the things that this spark in your own heart and mind. If you want more insights from my heart and mind, I do send out short episodes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and again, I hope that they serve you well. I appreciate you listening. I'm Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, a podcast for heart-centered leaders just like you. Keep leading, my friends. Always love.